All right, everybody, this is Sheets, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over how I built my lineup for the NHL GPP that I took down last night. And, you know, I always, one of the critiques I make of certain content providers when they look at lineups kind of after the fact and say, oh, well, you could have done this, you could have done that. And I just want to just show you, and I did this literally live. Okay, you saw this if you were in the live stream. You saw the spreadsheet up here, and I just want to show you how I went about building the lineup. You know, and it's not as if I'm a big hockey expert or anything like that, but I know about correlations. I know how to read the program, so to speak. And I just want to just go through it with you. And look, it's not always going to work, but just so you know, it doesn't have to be that complicated. So what this was my spreadsheet, right? Going into it yesterday, right? I haven't made any tweaks from it. I haven't done anything. And this is literally how I went about building the lineups, right? So what I do is I rank all these guys, and you see, hopefully you've seen the video on how I use my spreadsheets or whatever. And this was kind of the industry aggregates, percentages, and projections, and I weight them a certain way based on certain things. And then I get these value rankings, which I kind of rank everybody in this kind of yellow column here. And then you just have to, then I just build lineups based on, you know, on standard hockey protocol. So the first thing I did was I decided I was going to play the cheapest goalie that, you know, that rates decently. So like all these goalies in the top 10, right? They all look pretty good. So I just happened to have picked Jordan Binnington at 7,200. I mean, I really didn't know, you know, much about the matchup. I didn't know really much of anything about that, but where is it? Hold on. Let's pull that lineup up again. So I just threw him in. Okay, it's at 7,200, right? The next thing I did was I looked through these guys, my position players, and what I like to find are, you know, players kind of from the same team that rate to be, you know, that rate good values. So the first thing I did was I said, okay, these two guys are just kind of top players, like McKinnon and McDavid. They rated to be at the top, clearly, really, over everybody else. And I just had to pick kind of one of them as kind of a one-off because for me, there was like no one else in here. And so what I did is I said, okay, who's the less owned between these two guys? And I have my ownership over here. McKinnon was going to be 20% and McDavid was going to be 10%. So I figured I'd put David in. So I put him as kind of that one-off over here, okay? Then you'll notice that you have a bunch of San Jose guys all within kind of my top 15 values. So what I did, honestly, is I took all these guys, I put Kane, Burns, Meyer, and Hurdle, all those four guys. I just went and I double checked to make sure they were on the same line or at least on the power play line or close to it. And I put all those four guys in it. So you went, you look, and, you know, one Hurdle over here, one Meyer, Kane, and Burns. So then what you had is 3 spots left, right? So you had the 4 guys there. You had McDavid, you had a goalie, and you had 3 spots left. And so what I did was I then ranked these guys again by, you know, by value. And the first thing I saw was, again, I didn't have that much money to spend. So this first guy on my list, Tarasenko, I couldn't play. But the second guy was 2,900, so I put him in. So Mason Appleton. And I'll show you. So Mason Appleton went in over here. And this had the extra benefit of being in the same game as the McDavid play. So that certainly was an extra bonus. And then I just continued to kind of like try to find cheap guys down here that I could have that rated well. And you just go look through these. Like Dougie Hamilton was too expensive, 6,800. Meyer I had already. Shabbat was 5,900, was too expensive. And the next guy I came up with who was cheap enough for me to put in was Clayton Keller. And so Clayton Keller also had the extra benefit of being in that San Jose game. So why not, right? So he just kind of went in at Keller. And then I had defense. I just had one spot left. And honestly, if you want to know the truth, my defensive guy, I just kind of sorted by defense. And I tried to find someone who was about 3,300 because that's what's left over, who was in one of the games that I still had. So this guy, Ekblad, no, Larson, just was, you know, he fit the price, and he was in that same game. And that's really it, you know, and that's not going to work all the time. I guess not, but at least what I did made sense because these guys all rated well, and they all came from a similar game. And you know, it's interesting. You know, somebody commented in the chat that, oh, you had the Stones to play Bennington against the hot Colorado. I mean, I didn't really know. You know what I mean? But one thing I will say is that whenever you have a goalie that's going against a team that's hot, one thing I promise you is you're going to be facing a lot of shots. So if you got a goalie that's facing a lot of shots, that's always good. And what's kind of neat about this is that I had Bennington, and he was obviously an incredible pivot off of McKinnon, who was that same expensive one-off who I eschewed in favor of McDavid. So this particular situation was where my models and whatever just all kind of played itself. Let's put it that way. And that's how I literally hand-built that lineup. And then you have to get very lucky, and then I got an empty net goal with 10 seconds left in overtime to move from fourth to first, and that was always very nice. But hey, that happens. So that was pretty much it. I don't know if anybody's going to get anything out of this, but you know, just to show you that you know, you use a process, and every once in a while it works.